Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of Battle Bites here in World of Tanks. And today we're going to discuss the Defender of the Fatherland mission and how to go about earning this tank. It's the next free premium tank. It's coming up at the end of February here in 2017. But before we get there, before we get into the details, I want to go through a quick hypothetical, which may seem a little weird at first, but I promise we'll get into the relevance of that hypo as we get into the video here a little bit further. So the hypothetical is you're walking down the street, it's late at night, you are by yourself, you're in a dark alley, and all of a sudden somebody jumps out in front of you. They're holding a gun to your head. You're unarmed, you're not within distance to defend yourself or disarm them, and they say two things are going to happen. I am going to give you $10,000 cash on the spot, but before I do, one of two other things needs to happen. I'm either going to punch you in the face 10 times, or I'm going to punch you in the face some unknown number of times. You have to choose. Which would you choose? Would you take the 10 in the face to get the 10,000, or would you roll the dice on the unknown because, hey, maybe it's going to be less than 10? Leave your comment below. Let me know which of those two you would choose. I know it's a silly hypothetical. For me, I think I would take the 10. Give me the 10 punches in the face. I know what the punishment is. I can get through it knowing what the end goal is, and then I know my reward for that. Sure, you could roll the dice and it might be less than 10, but once you get over 10 hits in the face, you have no idea how many more are coming, and that can be pretty demoralizing for me. So the relevance of that hypo we'll get into very shortly, but first we're going to jump into the details. We'll do a quick summary of what we know so far about the Defender of the Fatherland event. So as you can see here, we've got the Defender of the Fatherland, and it's a Russian IS-3A variant. That's the IS-3, I guess, with an auto-loading type mechanism. I believe it's very similar to the IS-3A. They have it over on the PC version, not with our fancy paint job, of course, and I think it just has a bit better rate of fire, and mostly, other than that, it's the same as the standard IS-3, which is a really good Russian Tier 8 heavy tank. So getting one of those, if you like that tank with premium value, premium credit earning potential, and advanced crew training, this could be a really cool tank. I think it's one that people will certainly enjoy if they can get. The camo, it kind of has the theme going along with the Motherland, the red scheme, the red Russian colors or Soviet colors, and you may be wondering, well, how do I get this tank? It looks pretty good. It's a Tier 8 premium, so that's pretty valuable. Heavy tanks, we haven't really, I don't think, had a legit heavy tank available at Tier 8 for any of these premium giveaways, for the free tank giveaways yet. I think the closest is the Hammer, which is a heavy tank, but not really, not one that you really brawl with. So if you're excited about the opportunity, what you need to do, as you can see on the screen here, from February 23rd until March 1st, you have to earn 5 Fatherland medals. They are 5 individual medals. It's not one medal 5 times. There are 5 separate medals. Fatherland 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You need to accumulate each of them during the course of the event, and then you get the tank for free. How do you get the medals? Well, good news and bad news. You start with just needing to do 500 direct damage in a multiplayer battle. You need to use Russian tanks tier 3 or higher, and just 500 damage. It's got to be direct damage. It's not assistance damage. It's not spotting damage or tracking damage. It's 500 damage you deal to the enemy tanks with your gun. If you do that, you have a game where you've dealt 500 damage. At the end of it, you receive a loot drop, and in that loot drop, there will be something. It can be silver, XP, crew XP, or, if you're lucky, as the screen says, a Fatherland medal. And if you collect all 5, you then get the Fatherland tank. Now the note here says, getting Fatherland medals is random. Increase your chances by playing more battles. So now we're going to get a little bit more into the details. First, the good and the bad. The good for this event is that it's got a really low bar to entry for a chance to win the tank. 500 damage per game is something that I think any player in World of Tanks can do in the tanks that are being required. If you've spent any amount of time with this game, you can accomplish that. And a lot of the other missions required you to be in the top 5 in terms of XP earned in a battle, and realistically you really needed to be finishing first or second or third pretty often to be getting enough points to complete the games in a reasonable amount of time, or the operations in a reasonable amount of time. But this one, the bar to entry is really low, so that's cool. Downside is they were restricting the nation to Russian tanks. The Russian line is certainly one of the best, if not the best, developed in the game in terms of the amount of choices that you have and the amount of options that are available. But you're still restricted to that line, and maybe you don't like playing Russian tanks. You don't have many in your garage. So one way Wargaming could turn that negative into a positive, we don't know that they're not going to do it. I encourage them greatly to do it, is to give a little bit of a boost to playing your Russian tanks during this grind. If you're really going to force us to play Russian tanks for the better part of 2 weeks, give me some carrot to do it besides just maybe earning these medals. Like, give me whatever, a 10% or a 25% XP boost, make it a little on track event, then I'd be all for it, and playing Russian tanks wouldn't be a bad thing at all. I'd be happy to grind some out and make some progress at the same time. Then, in terms of the main bad thing that's going on here is the randomness of how you win, how you acquire these medals, because we're not told other than the chance is random, and the lack of details for the mission. There's a lot of things that we don't know based on this post. So I have a couple of questions that I'm going to list these in the place where I'm posting the video. Hopefully somebody from Wargaming sees it and they can answer some of these questions. Answering some of these, even if it's not all, it would help us figure out how this event is really going to work, help us budget our time, and plan how to tackle the event. So the first question I have is, how are the medals earned? And by that I mean, are they earned in any kind of order? I'm reading the page, and the impression I get is that they're not. So what would make sense to me is if you had to earn Fatherland Medal 1, and once you earn that one, then you could earn Fatherland 2, then you could earn 3, 4, and 5, and so on in series. But the way that I'm reading the webpage really doesn't seem to give that impression. It says you can check the Ops tab and the operation for your progress. Why would you need to check your progress if you're earning them in order? Like, if I earn then 1 and then 2, I know I have 2 and I'm looking for 3. That kind of gives me the impression you could earn any one of these at any time. You might earn Fatherland 5 first. Now, it does say you can't earn the same one twice, so there is some mechanism for filtering out a repeat, but can that count against you? So if are they earned in order or not, right? Simple yes or no question, that would be great. Then on top of that, if I can I earn more than one in a single battle? Is each medal given its own, I'm going to call it a lottery wheel, right? Picture the big wheel on The Price is Right, where you've got the one jackpot square. So if earning the Fatherland medal 1 is the jackpot spot, are there 5 wheels spinning, each one for medal 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with each loot drop? And if I get Fatherland 1 in my first battle, does that wheel then go away? So can I have the loot drop say, you should have gotten Fatherland 1 again, but you already have it, so you get nothing? Or in every single battle, is there a chance to get every single medal? And if that's the case, can I get 2 in a single battle? Could I get Fatherland 1 and 2 in the same loot drop? Any explanation on how that mechanism works, how, even if you can't tell us the chance, which is its own thing, telling us how these are distributed, in what order, in what way. Does getting 1 preclude you from getting 2? Does getting the first one hurt your chance of getting them in the future or not? Does it kind of help your chance? If you get 1, then you only have the other 4 to worry about, and so the first wheel stops spinning and the others are more likely. Anything like that would help us understand how this works. This is the first time an event like this is happening with this kind of reward system, so give us some information. We're playing the game here. Let us know the rules that we're playing by. That's all we want. Second, is there a percent chance that's the same for each of the medals? So one way I thought when I first heard of this event, what I thought would happen is you have to earn Fatherland 1 first, and then you would earn Fatherland 2, and then 3. And I imagined they would be an increasing change in the percent chance. Like, they'd make it easy to get Fatherland 1. It's a 50% drop rate. So you get that really fast, and then you're hooked, right? And then maybe Fatherland 2 has a 20% drop rate, and then 3 has a 10 and a 5, and then a 1% for the last one, right? That made sense, and maybe that is the case just without the spinning wheels. But again, it would be great to know that. Like if you're playing Monopoly, you want to know what the rare piece is. Boardwalk is the valuable one, so when you get Boardwalk, you're really excited. Well, if I know Fatherland 5 is the rarest one, and I pull that one early, let me know that. That'd be great. Then I'd be pumped. Then I'd be into it. And if I know that that's the last one, then I know I can strap on the seatbelt, buckle in, and get ready to grind out that last one because it's the toughest one and it's the last one I need. Again, just informing your players of the game that you're playing, what the rules are that they're playing by, is much more preferable than being in the dark. Third, it seems like there's no time gating for this event. So that seems really good. Almost all of the other events had chained operations, and the last part of the chain was a big push because you were gated, prevented from starting it early. So you had to earn 10,000 XP, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50, but you couldn't start the 50 until the last 3 days. There doesn't seem to be any restriction based on this post so far on this web page. You can get all 5 medals throughout the entirety of the event. So that's really cool if that's true. If it's not true, we'd certainly like to know that now rather than a week in or the day before the event starts. My fourth question is, why hide the percent? That it doesn't seem to make sense from a strategy standpoint. What do you have to gain? Maybe if the numbers are really bad, if each medal on its own has a 1% chance of dropping and you can only get one of them in any given battle, then I guess that's 500 battles that you're looking at, and that's really daunting, and so maybe you don't want to give players that really bad news. But I doubt that's the case, and even if it is, we're gonna start playing. And is it better to find out after I spent a week grinding that that's the drop rate? I think I'm gonna be more upset if that's the case rather than knowing up front and knowing what I'm getting into. And this is where the hypo comes in, right? I can take some punishment. I'm a gamer, I'm a grinder, I'm playing World of Tanks, right? There's a grind aspect to it. And if I know what the grind is, you tell me how much XP I need to finish my tier 9 tank to get to the tier 10, and the tier 9 tank may be miserable, but I'll do it because I know what I need to do, I know the path I need to take, and I know what the reward is at the end of it. But here I don't. I don't know how long the path is to get to the reward. And I hate that feeling. It's not, I don't want to play a game with that feeling. Tell me the path that I need to take. At least tell me how long the path is so that I can figure out the time that I need to invest to play the game. Because if I don't know, then something else might take priority. And then finally, there doesn't seem to be any mechanism in place to offer the tank. You can, of course, purchase it it seems like a high price. People are saying, I think it's like 16,000 gold for the base package, the most basic setup of just getting the tank. Why not offer it with a discount based on the number of medals that you've accumulated? I think PC does this with events a lot, where they have these month-long massive grind fests to get one of their premium tanks. And don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful, on console we get the opportunity to get a number of premium tanks for free, so don't get me wrong there. But why not try that out? So if the base price for the tank is 16,000 gold, if somebody earns one of the medals, then give them the option to buy the tank for 20% off. If they earn two, 40% off. Three, 60% off. Like, that would be great. Then if somebody puts some time in, even if they say, well, I'm not going to have enough time to grind out all 5 medals, but I'm going to play a little bit, maybe I'll get 3, and then maybe they'd be encouraged to buy the tank for 60% off. Otherwise, that player is just not going to get the tank, and maybe they'd buy it for full price, but I think more would just stay away from it. I think this way you'd open the opportunity up for more people, for more dynamic gameplay. It would at least ease the burden a little bit of not knowing the percent chance in how you get the medals in the loot crate. So those are my questions. I'd love to get answers to any or all of them. If there's somebody at Wargaming who sees this, please feel free to highlight this, and I'll do my best to share it, put the information out there for the community so that we can all have it and get the information that we're looking for. And this kind of leads me into my next point, which is, when this event was announced, the mechanism for acquiring the tank, the loot drop nature, man, everywhere I looked, I saw people raging on the subreddit, in the forums. People were just really mad, and they were focused on the random nature. Like, why take a reward and base it completely on random chance? And I get that a little bit, but I think that's the wrong focal point for the anger, right? We want wargaming to hear our opinions so they can make changes for the future. I wouldn't focus on the randomness being the bad guy here, because if it turns out every single medal has a 50% chance dropping in any loot crate, I don't think anybody would complain. That means every other game you're going to get a medal on average, and it would take 10 games. Well, that'd be great. We'd all love that. So it's not that it's random, it's what the chance is that it's random. And so, if it turns out it's a 1% chance for each of the medals and you can only get one per game, then you're talking hundreds of games, and that would be the problem. So I think we should focus on not the randomness itself, but the magnitude of the unknown nature. That really seems to be what makes this disappointing for me in terms of the information we have so far. So just for comparison's sake, if it turns out that there's a 10% chance to get any given medal in a game, the average is 50 games to get the tank. That would be great for most players. I did some, estimate videos on what it would take players to acquire the Boilermaker, for example. And if you were an average player, not really scoring those second and third place finishes that often, you were more often in the fourth or fifth in terms of total XP earned on your team per battle. The estimates were coming out to 150 to 200 games to go through the entire operation to get the Boilermaker. So, if we're at numbers that are going to be 100 games, yeah, the Super Unicums, their number of games might have gone up pretty dramatically, whereas they got the Boilermaker in 40 games. Now they're going to need to take 80. But, that might be okay because it'll open the door for a lot of those average players and maybe even some below average players to have an opportunity to participate here. Again, the entry to get a loot crate, 500 damage, is low. So you're really opening the door for a lot of people here. And I think that's okay. I know a lot of people watching this video, a lot of people on the forums and on Reddit are the better players. You're the higher tier players, so maybe this is going to be a couple more games for you. But keep in mind that if that is the case, maybe it's at the cost of some newer players, some less experienced players having an opportunity to get the tank as well. And I think that's all right to do once in a while. Again, as long as the numbers that are in play here are reasonable. So one thing I want to do, the main thing that I want people to get out of this video is what can we do to fight back, I guess is the way I want to put it, against this data shrouding for the event. Well, we can record our own data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a thread in the Reddit, on the forums, where I'm going to post this video, and I'm going to keep track of my games for how many it takes to earn each medal. And I want you guys to do the same. If you're at all interested in this, record your data, post in the thread that you found this video, and if you see it early, I'm going to try and post it early so the thread gets started. Reserve your spot and post the number of games it took you to get each medal. And I'm going to try and correlate that data, put it together into some kind of form that's useful to kind of figure out the drop rates. Maybe we can figure out the drop rates on our own, get some kind of an estimate. I know we're not going to have a huge sample size, but even if we get, estimated numbers, something, it might put things into perspective for us. And there's a possibility that the data might be too late. We might not be able to really get anything useful for this event, but Wargaming likes to base future events on things they've done in the past. We've seen, some of the premium tanks be acquired in methods that were similar to prior ones. So if they do this type of event again, then we might have some data that can help us in the future if an event like this comes up. So please, I encourage you, if you at all are interested in this type of thing, if you're involved, if you're interested in helping the community out, post in the thread and try to record some of your data, even if it's an estimate. You got Fatherland 1 in maybe 5 to 10 games. Well, that's fine. That's close enough. We're not going to the moon here. We're playing a video game, so we don't need the math to be exact. Just as good as you can guesstimate. So with that, I felt a little ranty. I felt a little ravey. Hopefully the background footage, the B-roll that I had going, was at least entertaining on somewhat and took the edge out of what I was trying to say. I didn't want this to feel too negative, but I do want to get the point across. There's some decisions that were made about this event that personally I'm not a huge fan of. It's still early, so maybe Wargaming can turn it around. Maybe we'll get numbers and it won't be that bad. But, we still have a chance to impact the game that we love to play, and I wanted to take the opportunity to try and do that. So hopefully you guys found this useful. You found it inspirational to kind of get involved and take a stand on this event. If you did, please feel free to like the video And as always, you can subscribe to Meat City Gaming for future content. I truly appreciate the support. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.